Hi, this is Pete Gooding from Ibiza, musical director at Hostel La Torre, and you are listening to the Liverpool Connection Podcast.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Liverpool Connection Podcast. I'm your host Daz. This is my story episodes where I bring someone on to tell their Liverpool story. And I love all the guests that come on because everybody has a different story to tell about Liverpool Football Club. So my next guest, he's a musician, songwriter, and obviously a fellow Red. It's Mel Bowen, and he's got a cracking band called The Original Series, which I definitely want to talk to Mel about, because The Original Series defo sounds like there's some trainer kind of involvement in that, because as everyone knows, I'm an Adidas fanatic, and The Original Series is a lot of trainers that I go after. So Mel, I know we've been talking for a bit. I wish we actually press record. I always say this. Some of the best bits.
It's on the good bit.
Before I press record, I mean, talking about Clobber, talking about Adidas and stuff. So, yeah. But welcome. Anyway, I'm so happy to have you on because I've got loads of questions for you. Hopefully you have the answers.
Well, can't guarantee that, but thanks for having me anyway. Thank you.
So how do we solve world poverty?
How do we solve it?
No.
That would be a start, wouldn't
it? Unless you do know.
I got an answer.
I got that.
I'm going to share it though.
Well, let's get into Liverpool first. So obviously Liverpool supporter. I know your mind is sketchy, just like probably most our age, coming from the 80s and 90s. But do you remember? I mean, in your household, was your mum and dad Liverpool supporters, or even?
My dad was like fanatical. So he's from Wales, my dad originally, but moved to Liverpool as a young whippersnapper. And my Auntie Hilda said he was like Scouse times 10 by the time he got here. So although he was born in Wales and he lived the first few years in Wales, he was about 8 or 9, I think, in Wales. But she said she said I remember him arriving with this actor. But anyway, yeah, he was fanatical Liverpool family dad, and also a raging alcoholic. And I mean, he had a problem with that with alcohol. So that I mean, that's important to the story really, because that got in the way of my early years of going to Liverpool. So like I suppose a lot of people, bit of a love-hate relationship for me and my father, because he was a bit of a nightmare in some ways. But I always say he took me to Anfield when I was a very young boy. I think 74. So yeah, my first Wembley trip was 76, Southampton, the Charity Shield, and my dad took me there. Drinking Nuki Brown. I remember that. Not me, but yeah. So that was it was my dad. My dad was a Red, and my uncle, because of my dad being in the situation he was in with alcohol, because people always laugh about that, but actually, he wasn't. He had a problem. Like, and my mum passed away when I was a kid. My mum passed away when I was 8. Which just amplified my dad's drinking out of all control. So I ended up moving with my ninny and my Uncle Boo, my mum's brother, who was a staunch Evertonian. Amazing human being, but a blue. So, yeah, but did everything he could. My Uncle Boo, my Uncle Eddie, his name is, we was calling Boo, did everything he could to facilitate me still going to Anfield. And that involved him taking me, but by the time my mum had passed and I was sort of getting to sort of 10, 11, my cousins were taking me off. Stephen, my cousin Stephen Brown, and a lad that was like a dead close friend of the family. He was like a cousin, really, Stephen Scott. They were a little bit older than me, so they used to take us. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because I lost my mum at 15, so I can't imagine like losing your mum at 8. Were you really close?
Yeah, she was an amazing woman. Like, I mean, I can remember her Yeah, I can remember lots about her. You know, she was staunch. She was yeah. I still have people now who know it, who say to me, talk about it. You know what I mean? Say she was amazing. That was, I mean, I'm an old man, like, you know what I mean. So, but there's still people around who remember her and talk about her. So yeah, she was cool.
Yeah, it's a, you know, like I always say, like, you know, my dad used to work in construction engineer in Iraq and Iran. So he was gone, you know, 9, 10 months out the year. So it was me mum that really like put her arm around me and kind of acted like me dad as well. So, you know, she kind of put me in the right direction, but it was me granddad that took me to all the matches. But yeah, there's just it's tough, you know, especially I know a lot of working class towards, you know, if you're a lad and you're crying, you're considered, you know, a bit soft, you know. So I mean, for you with your dads with the alcohol and stuff, did it? I'm trying to like really think about this, like, you know. Was it tough for you to not get over your mother, but have your dad around to put his arm around you? And
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
But he wouldn't put his arm around you. He wasn't that. He was a wagon driver. He wasn't that type of guy. He was away a lot, long distance lorry driver, which was bizarre. Thinking, you know, he was probably drinking with bottles in the wagon. You know what I mean? Because he drank all day every day. But not the type of fellow that would put it out. But you know, like I said, he did. I'm not sure my mum was. I actually don't know. But I don't think my mum was into football. I don't ever remember my mum being, you know, but she'd have supported the fact that we were. Do you know what I mean? That would be a. But I can't honestly say I remember my mum going, oh, you know, that's not a memory I've got. Although she passed when I was 8, she was actually in hospital from when I was 6. So she spent like 2 years fighting cancer. So that was. So yeah, it's a mad one because actually up until I've never actually asked that question. Was my mum a red? Yeah, which is a bit weird, isn't it? To think, you know, because I am. I mean, at that age as well, I think I've mellowed in my Liverpool support and fanaticism. But at that age, you know, I was like my entire room was just red and white, and you know, every single thing, because music hadn't come into my life. And so everything revolved around Liverpool Football Club. Nothing else mattered. I mean, nothing did matter at all back then. And so, all lads are the same, aren't they? You know, but you know, I mean, I could tell you the colour of Phil Neal's undies back then. You know what I mean? It was obsessive, and you know, one of the big things was 77. Was when we got to our first European Cup. Throughout that season, my dad had said, if we get there, lads, if we get there, we're going to Rome. And he promised me. He actually promised me. I mean, that was the horrible thing about it. And I don't think he meant it. I think in his head, he was like, we're going to Rome, you know. And at that point, by the way, he wasn't going the game. He was like otherwise engaged. So I was going with our Stephen, as I say, and Stevie Scott and what have you. But he was all like, if we get to Rome, and of course he never took us. I never went, and that was genuinely like one of my major bones of contention. Like the big sit down over the bottle when I was an adult. Let's have the talk. I'm like, you never took me to Rome. You know, that was like really done me head in because, and I've got 2 boys, like one of which would not go down the backyard for Liverpool Football Club or any other football club. He just thinks it's the biggest, like, you know, load of shite ever and what, you know, overpaid. He's probably got a lot of sense, our Paddy, but he's just like load of bollocks. Whereas my younger lad, our Barney, who comes the game with me, he's just like obsessed. And I suppose he's a bit more like I was. I think I've lost my thread there of what I was saying, but yeah, 2 boys, yeah. Anyway.
Well, 77 for me too, because I went first match 76, and my granddad kind of teased me about the European Cup final as well. So I thought I was going, you know, I thought I'd travel with my granddad over to Italy, and lo and behold, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he sat me down years later and was like, "You're just way too young to go with me." He's like, "I don't mind taking you to Anfield, but to go on a European Cup final in it, because you know,
Yes.
back in the day there was a lot more trouble." So he's like, "Look, I'm barely looking after myself in Rome. You know, you expect me to look after you as well." So I mean, I was distraught for a while because you know it's tough as a young kid. You know, you get yourself worked up and stuff, and you think you're going, and then I mean, I'd get pissed off when I couldn't go to you know, down the shops.
Yeah.
So telling me I'm going to go to Rome, that just like, you know, destroyed my life for, you know, a couple of months. But you go.
So we've got something in. We've got something in common here, Daz. Because honestly, it affected my life in a way I could not like. I mean, more than you know. Obviously, we've had European Cups after that, but you know, I mean, I think that's what I was going to say. My younger lad has been to European Cup finals, and I'm like, you've got to understand how special this is. You know, my dad never did this for me. You know, so that's where I was going with that story before. Yeah, it's.
Well, it's crazy because I mean we have so much in common as well because my mum passed away with cancer as well, ovarian cancer, and she was in the Aussie for a long time as well. Yeah, it's just mental, you know how different lives kind of connect. But I mean, you know, I'm sure back in the day for you as well, just like with my mum, it women didn't go to the doctor like they do today. You know, they go for 6-month checkups. I mean, my mum would barely go, and then it was kind of a bit too late. You know, I don't know how it was for your mum, but yeah, I mean, I think football for me, as I would think for you as well, because again, you know, we are too young for like music. Football took me away from all that shit. You know. In my life, you know, and I think as you get older, you know, it doesn't take you as long. Like when you lose a match, I'm not throwing the telly out the window. I'm not screaming at the neighbours or you know, wanting a fight with anyone. You know, but back in the day, oh my God, it would destroy me. Especially like after my mum passed away. You know, you go from that like mourning period to being angry at the world and Liverpool. You know, I'd be angry at Liverpool football. Like, what have you done to me? Like, I can't take it anymore. You know, I mean, we've had good times, bad times with the club. Obviously, you know, I've been to cup finals. I've been you know blessed to be able to go with my granddad to many places. Not Rome. But yeah, many places. See, it's stuck with me. It's bringing back bad memories. I'm gonna stop now and let you talk.
Well, go ahead. Another question.
Do you remember your first match?
Yeah, I do. Middlesbrough. I do. Remember. I mean, I don't even remember like players or well, I would back then. I could have told you every player in the team: Clements, Phil Neal, Thompson, Ray Kennedy, Hughes, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, and I remember being it was in the main stand, and all I wanted to do was like looking across at the cop and just like spent the entire thing looking. And that's what I used to do because when my dad took me, he used to take me in that main stand, and all I would do was stare at the cop. I never done the boys' pen or anything like that. I just went straight. As soon as he let go and like he stopped taking us, that I went with our Steve, and as I say, my cousins and stuff was just on the cop, straight onto it, and that that was it. I'm never going anywhere else. You know, I could never understand like the Annie Road thing. Like back then was just like seemed like a million miles away to me. It's like, why would you want to be over there? This is the place, you know. But yeah.
Well, it's a rite of passage, isn't it? You know, the cop, that's where you want to be. That's where all the singing was. That's where, you know, the main hub is. And yeah, it's weird because my granddad would always take me on the cop, you know, because we'd queue up very early just so he could hear the gossip of everyone else behind. But by the time it got to him, though, it's changed like 20 times, so it'd be a totally different story. But when I went back this past January, I was at the Newcastle game, and obviously it's great to be back and watching, the team that you love. But I just caught myself so many times just looking over at the Kop, going, I wish I was in there.
Yeah. It sounds cheesy, doesn't it? And I talked to Barney about it, my lad, and just sort of, it's, you can't romanticize about it, can you? Because the energy that was on there, and especially as a kid, it was just like, and everything about it, I'm talking like 3-star jumper days and scars down the side of your jeans. It was, and the trouble as well, the trouble was always sort of never, I mean, not on the Kop, but around the game, was never far away, or at least it felt like it was never far away. And as a kid, that was exciting. Like, you know what I mean? That was an added excitement. I've got to be honest. People say I was disgusting, but for me back then, as a kid, it was like, but the energy that was on that terrace and just the whole spectacle of it was just, you can't romanticize enough about it. Like, and there's lads who you'll have on this podcast who could tell you, how many steps it had and all the rest of it and what have you. But you, like I say, I don't think you can, or rather, who've been on it a million more times than I did. But I don't know. Just once you've been on there, back then particularly, you were never going to go anywhere else. I can't get my head around these people who say, "Oh, well, I used to support them, and now this." I'm like, what's that about? I can't ever, But obviously, anyone who's ever walked onto the Kop, unbelievable. But back then, particularly, I know it's still a special place. Courses, I don't sit in the Kop anymore, but I know it's a very special place still, but it's back then, that whole swaying and it's just the whole energy of it and the whole excitement and that little felt like that bit of danger almost as well. It sounds mad. People talk about it's so friendly, and yeah, it was, but it felt dangerous. It felt like so exciting back then. It did for me anyway.
Same. I mean, when Liverpool pushed forward, obviously from the back to the front.
Yeah.
You made sure you weren't by the bars.
Yeah, the stanchion,
yeah. But yeah, there was. I mean, and especially, it was kind of sad in a way for me, because when I hit my teenage years, that's when I started to go with my mates. I mean, my granddad be like, well, what about me? He'd still go, but I'd get far away from my granddad because you're up to stuff, aren't you? You're doing stuff you shouldn't be. But no, I'm with you on there. There was an excitement where, especially when you go to away matches, you get off that train and you expect some trouble. And when you're 16, you're Billy Big Balls, aren't you? You're just like, oh man, lad. Now I'm like, no chance. I'm like, I'm too old for that crap. Like, it's but
I was always too old for it. But I'm just being honest and saying, but back then it excited me. That stuff, I was always a watcher. I was never at the front getting stuck in it. But it's mad, isn't it? How it's changed is insane. The how it's changed when you think back to those times and how it was, from that point of view. Yeah, I mean, better now, isn't it? In that sense, people don't get their kicked in as much. That's got to be a good thing. But just that, I don't know, that energy, that thing that doesn't. Maybe it's just because we're getting old, though.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's what it is. We don't feel that energy as much. Maybe, I don't know. It just doesn't have that raw thing, does it?
Yeah, it's funny to watch. Like, I watch some of these videos on like YouTube that have like the younger generation doing this, opposing fans doing this dance.
Yeah,
they never actually hit each other. They just like, come on then, come on. Yeah. But back in the day, it was just at it. But yeah, and I think I'm kind of like you as well. I was in the back going,
yeah, go on.
Pointing fingers.
Yeah, that's the one.
Making sure I get the big fellas in front of people Oh, you're the bastard, fuck you.
I was never a massive away traveller either. I was never a massive away boy. So yeah, if it, you know, yeah, I went away, but not massively. I wasn't like not so much as a youngster, you know.
Yeah, so you do more of the aways now.
Yeah, I do now with my lads. Yeah, I do now with my lads a lot, like on Wilcox tours. Yeah. So yeah.
I mean, it must be brilliant to take your lads. Like, you know, I try and get my 4 girls into football. It's probably 88 minutes too long for them because they're young. You know, they only got the attention span of like an egg, and but they watch daddy, you know, get riled up. I try not get riled up anymore, but it's different, you know, when you're in your own house watching it on the telly. You've got to watch what you say, because kids are like sponges. You say a nasty word and they'll be saying it in school like the next day. But when I'm down the pub, it's a little bit different. You know, you can be a bit more boisterous, but it's like my hope is, you know, one day I can take my girls to Anfield at least once, and then they can afterwards just go, "You just wasted your money," because I hate football.
I'm sure they'll get it. I'm sure they'll get it if they go. And it is, like I said, I've got 2 boys. My eldest lad's Cameron. He's a scientist. He's a clever boy. He works in the operating theatres. He's well switched on. Wouldn't go down the backyard for them. thinks they're a pile of shite and overpaid. And he's probably right, you know. But well, he's not probably. He's definitely right. But then our Barney has been, you know, Barney was totally opposite. He was like straight, like me, straight to it, and just loved it. I took his name's Cameron, my eldest lad. So I remember taking our Paddy. I call him Paddy. His middle name's Patrick. I took our Paddy. I remember him playing with the seat in the ground for like 90 minutes. I'm like, watch the match. I took him a few times. I've actually there's a photograph of him on the cop. Our sis, he was young. But our sis took a photograph of him. I think we were playing Arsenal night game, and he crashed. He was asleep on the cop, you know, on the cop. He was like gone. But with our Barney, oh mate, he was like, yeah, full on right at it. So it's been great with Barney because, you know, he shares my sort of passion and love, and in fact, he probably overtakes it because he's just mad for it like crazy. You know, he's 19 now, Barney, like, and he just lives, sleeps, breathes it. But it's been great. We've been to Kiev, he's been to Munich, he's been to Barca, he's been to, you know, he's been about, like, he's been a lucky boy, really. He's been a very lucky boy. You know, he's been to most, not all, but he's been to most Premier League grounds in the country. You know, there's a lot of kids out there can't even get. Yeah, this is my beef. This is my beef. I have got a beef. This is my beef. Is that, like, you know, little Bobby, born and bred on Breck Road, can't get in the ground. So I'm talking about our Barney going here, there, and everywhere, which is amazing for our Barney. It's great, and Barney's lucky. He's got a season ticket. But the kid up the road from the ground can't get in, and that is like, that needs sorting. Like, I really think that needs sorting. That needs to be something that needs to be looked at and dealt with, because it's wrong that Liverpool fans that live, you know, in the shadow of the ground even can't get in. That's not good. Because we were talking about, you were saying you used to go and queue up early. It didn't matter what time you got there, you got in, didn't you? You got in when we, you know, we're talking about when we were first going. You got in, didn't you? You just can't now. And I know it's boring, and I'm going over stuff that far more educated and football-minded people can pontificate about. But for me, I just think, well, I don't care if it's boring. To me, that's what needs sorting. Because if we lose the kids, and I know there's tons of kids who don't get in and are absolutely fanatical, but I think, you know, if we're not careful, we'll lose them. And you know, you said before, we haven't gone into good or bad times, but you said, you know, the club has had good times and bad times. And let's hope we just continue with Arnie on this, on a Bosch reign of gold. But, you know, it could go the other way, couldn't it? And it's like, you know, I just think, I don't know, you know, I've done all right for myself in terms of, you know, I'm lucky I can afford to get myself my ticket and to pay for Barney and what have you. But so a lot of people who can't. But for me, if things got tough for me, and they have been, you know, they really have been. But you know that doesn't go. You know, the footy's probably one of the last things that would go. You know, the bread in the cupboard we won't have as many. You know, we won't have as many butties. The telly will go. This, you know, but the footy would be way down the line of things to be not for us not to do. You know, for us not to go to. Whereas I think some of those people that kind of go these days and stop young Bobby getting in from Breck Road or whatever, you know. I think actually if things got tough for some of them, footy would be the first thing that goes, you know, or if Liverpool take it down, saying the kind of interest wanes away. And I say I'm not being a snob or an inverted snob, and I'm not on any mission about it. I'm just talking, but for me, I just think like that is something I would love to see get sorted out, that, you know, young people and local people, just young local people can get into the ground, because I just think it's tragic that they can't really.
Well, I've had this discussion so many times. You know, I understand, you know, football, we've got a global fan base. You know, why should, you know, Billy go to the game from Breck Road rather than, you know, Jimmy from Iceland or something?
Yeah.
You know, and for me, the heart and soul are Scousers, you know, that support Liverpool. And yes, there's this opportunity to, you know, bring fans who, you know, like myself as well. I got up at 6 o'clock in the morning to watch a match. You know, that's dedication. You got some people like in Australia, New Zealand, it's like 2-3 o'clock in the morning. So I understand it. But there's that fine line where you do want to keep it local. And I wish there was a boys' pen again. You know, just so like local kids could come. I appreciate like the Legends matches because, you know, more locals can go to it, but Legends compared to actually watching, you know, now it's so different. So, you know, will it ever happen? I doubt it.
I don't want to keep it local. You know, I'm not a. And by the way, I'm certainly no Tommy Robinson. You know what I mean? It's not a like. You know, and I've got loads of people who sit around us who come from, you know, other countries and what have you, and they're as fanatical as anyone I've ever met. There's 2 girls who sit up the way from us who come from London, and like, you know, one of them goes literally everywhere with Liverpool and has done for forever. So it's not about stopping those. It's not. I was going to say my head went as well back to the 70s. Hatscarf and Bad's done a version of it recently. But one of my most favourite things when I was a kid was my silk scarf with the world on it, with all the flags around, you know, supporters all over the world. And it's funny because I don't know why, but that resonates with everyone, because when that scarf and badge redone that, everyone went, remember that, you know, everyone, obviously it rang bells with everyone. And you can't have it always. You can't go, supporters all over the world and then say you can't come in. So I'm not saying, what I'm saying is there needs to be something. There needs to be a way of getting those young local peoples into the ground. I don't necessarily, I'm not suggesting it should be at the cost of anyone else, but it's just, they've got to find a way of getting that local community, because that's what football is, isn't it? It's about your local community, you know what I mean? Or it should be.
No, spot on. I want to bring back, who was your childhood footballing hero?
Kevin Keegan.
Kevin
Keegan.
Well, you probably saw him a bit longer than me, because, like I said, 76 was mine, and then he was gone in 77. The bastard. I still haven't. Still haven't. See, all my childhood memories are coming back, and now I'm getting angry.
No, I remember him. I remember him going and thinking the world has ended.
Yeah.
You know, I used to have a mate up the road, and he was an Evertonian, Paddy Thompson. He's passed away now; he's gone. But Paddy was, which is why I wanted my eldest lad to be called. His name's Cameron. I wanted him to be called Patrick. She won, but he got Patrick in the middle. He was named after Paddy Thompson. Paddy was my mate as a kid, and when he scored, he was Evertonian, Paddy. And when he scored, after school, we'd play in the square outside. And when he scored, Latchford. And when I scored, Keegan. You know, that was how Keegan was my hero as a kid. Like,
he was brilliant, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Just you know, I even one day I'd taken, I don't know what they were, from a sponge or something, and made the sideburns and stuck them on my face. Yeah, I was that obsessed with him. And then no, he was just a brilliant little player, wasn't he? Like,
I even remember him on Superstars on the bike. Remember that one? Did he fall off the bike? Did he come off it?
So. Yeah.
I think he come off, didn't he? It was either him or it was in the race he was in. Yeah. But he was something else. I also had a real soft spot. And you know what? People go, is it because he was a Scouser? Jimmy Case. Oh. I don't think I knew he was a Scouser. I don't actually think I knew that. I just loved Jimmy Case. Maybe I did, but I don't know. I don't recall like that being me. I just thought he was great. Jimmy Case was just, I don't know. So, and I met him. A good few years ago. We were in LFC TV with our old bass player, who's a staunch Blue. We were doing a thing about the derby and the build-up of the derby. And we'd done the piece that we were doing. And then afterwards we were in like the having a cup of tea with a lad called Paul Rogers that used to, I don't know what his job, he was like the head on show there. He was a top lad. He's at Roma, I think now. Or maybe Roma TV or whatever he does. But we were sitting there and we were just having a chat because we knew Paul personally. It was him who invited us on, so we knew him as a mate as much as anything. Top red Paul as well, but we were just sitting chatting. And then this head popped itself through the door of the kitchen and he went, "Oh, sorry, are you having a meeting?" And Paul went, "No, it's okay, come in, it's all right." And he said, "Just want a cup of tea." And I looked and it was Jimmy Case. Honestly, and I don't get starstruck. Not that I've met like loads, but I've met a few because with being a singer-songwriter, I've met a few, I've met a few heroes along the way and a few non-heroes. But when I saw, I genuinely, and I'm usually okay because they just, they all have a shite, don't they? They're all just people. But when I saw Jimmy Case, I genuinely did have a moment and I went, I've got to go. And also as well, I have this thing, I find it very difficult to go up to these famous people and go, "You don't know me, but I just want to tell you, you're amazing." I'm too, I don't know whether it's my own coolness, I don't know what it is, but I never feel comfortable doing that. But with Jimmy Case, I was like, I can't not go and shake his hand. And he was great, he was lovely. But yeah, Jimmy Case and Kevin Keegan.
Yeah.
Who was yours?
Well, it was Kevin Keegan. But then he broke my heart, and then I didn't really think of anyone as a hero after that until probably Barnesy.
Oh yeah.
Just because I'd never seen somebody do what he did with the football. And it's so funny because you look back then, today players are pretty trim and fit. Barnesy always looked overweight.
Yeah.
Always. Same with Molby as well. He always looked a bit chubby, and I couldn't believe what he did with the football. So yeah, probably Barnesy after that. But yeah, I think after Barnesy, you grow up. I mean, childhood heroes, and then after Barnesy, it was like I like players. I don't
Yeah.
I don't get starstruck either, really. But I had Phil Tomo on here.
Oh yeah.
And it was just for a couple of minutes, I'm just staring straight at him, just going, "Jesus Christ, I've got Phil Thompson, captain, former captain of Liverpool." I had to pinch myself, but like you said, they're just regular lads. They like to have a pint. Well, quite a few. Just like you and me. I mean, especially the 70s and 80s players. Obviously, they didn't get paid like they do today, so they weren't, or money wasn't hanging out their back pockets. Phil
Thompson fireplaces. Do you remember that?
What?
Phil Thompson fireplaces. He used to have a fireplace shop. after I think he had a couple. Yeah, he had one in Birkenhead up by Trammy Rovers. Yeah, Phil Thompson's Fireplaces. Yeah, he did. He used to say it's gas fires and that, you know. So
he didn't tell me about that one.
Yeah, no, he kept that one quiet.
I want to buy.
I've got a quick story about John Barnes. Was I had family that lived in Jamaica, like from my dad's side over in the 70s, and I went over in the 90s on a holiday, and they said, look up this guy, Miguel Hamilton. He was a friend of the family, you know, when we were over there. So he's about your age. And anyway, I met Miguel. Anyway, I spent quite a bit of time with Miguel in and around Jamaica. And he came over to ours, came over to stay at mine. He'd never been off the island of Birkenhead, but he was just obsessed with John Barnes. And he was like, I want to come and see, you know, will we see John Barnes? And I was like, yeah, of course, I'll take you. And it was letters then. It was letters we used to write to each other, you know. And he's like, I cannot wait to see John Barnes. And this is genuinely like, it's beautiful, really. It's the innocence of it. But Miguel came and stayed with us for about 2 weeks. And then he went to London for a couple of weeks and then come back. But in the time that he was with us, he spent most of the time probably around the Phil Thompson fireplace, gas fire in our house with scarves on and bubble coats. He was freezing, came in the middle of winter. But I took him the game and he was absolutely devastated because he thought he was going to be able to meet John Barnes after the match. And I took him on the car and he was like, I'm in Jamaica, you could just go. And I'm like, no, you can't just walk up and meet them. It doesn't work like that. He genuinely thought after the game, he'd be able to go and meet him and shake his hand. I was like, I'm sorry, mate, no. Yeah. You know, another life ruined.
Yeah, I'd love to hear what Miguel's side of the story is then, you know.
I played against John Barnes as well. And another quick one was on a Friday. Have you heard about Friday footy?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know about Friday. So I was there when Friday footy started. It starts off in Thornton Huff. Because the farm were recording house, Neston Way. So we used to meet in Thornton Huff. We played there for, a while, a couple of months. And then we moved it to Birkenhead Park, which is where it's mainly been for God knows how many years now. And I think it was a fellow called Dave was bit of a businessman from Birkenhead, was taking his kids were at Birkenhead School and John Barnes' kids were there, so they got friendly. And he was like, I think he was just at the end of his time at Newcastle, and he was like, if you know anyone who'll have us a game, like, I just want to keep my fitness level up over the summer. So Dave was like, so we literally got a phone call to say, do you want to play footy tomorrow? Just bring a black t-shirt, like. So we turned up, black t-shirt and all that. It was like the biggest bunch of rag asses. And John Barnes got together a load of the dads from the school, and he kitted them all out in like this orange Dutch type kit, socks, the full shebang, like. And we had a proper match at I don't know where it was, Birkenhead School or something like that. I think it was probably their private grounds, like. So I had a game with him. They beat us 3-2. I think it was 3-2, yeah. But a gentleman, absolute gentleman. And so I didn't tell Miguel I actually played with him.
Yeah, he's a really nice fella. Austin Group here, the official supporters group, brought him, I think, about 4 years ago. But yeah, just class, just, you know, easy to talk to. He's actually coming back, I think, in mid-August to Houston. But yeah, just solid player. But like, even like all those older players are such gentlemen. They have time for you. Yeah. While the new football players, you know, they want to get in their cars and bugger off home and all that stuff. I do want to start, you know, bringing in the musical stuff for you, because, you know, I'm definitely want to talk about like your early influences? Again, I also like to ask, like, I mean, in my house, it was Elvis Presley for me mum. And then for me dad, it was Black Sabbath and Deep Purple. So, you know, it was rocker and then rock and roll. How was it for you, then?
Country and Western. Unbelievable. Oh. My old man was just, he was a drunk one. So, like, you know, Dean, what's his name? Hank Marvin and all that. Johnny Cash, you know, horrendous. Horrendous, really.
All those old songs were all like, you know, I drank me bottle of whiskey. I took a shotgun and shot me dog.
Yeah. and a bit of rock and roll as well, because he was an old Ted, you know, he was an old Texan. So bit of rock and roll, but mainly from my dad anyway. My mum, I don't, just whatever was on the radio, you know what I mean? And I remember singing to my mum. She used to make me, I get up and do bits when the radio was on, you know, sing songs to her, like, yeah.
So what was your early influence then? Like, you know, again, you know, when you're young, you know, it's like you said, whatever's on the radio, but what band, I mean, really?
Music got, I'm without sounding like some kind of knobhead, but music got me right from the start, dead early doors, right? I just, anything really, you know, would something would capture me musically, but in terms of actually waking up and going, it was, you mentioned it before yourself, was the Jam. Like, when the Jam came along, I was just like, these are my boys, this is my band, these are, you know, everything about them, the look, the sound, the anger, the energy, that we're talking about, that energy in the footy, that was in that music as well, wasn't it? And also that idea that you can do this as well, you know. So,
what's your thing? Like, for me, Set the House Ablaze.
Yeah, brilliant song.
Remember the movie Billy Elliot?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was me. I mean, not dancing around in a tutu, but like where Billy's dancing to what was the song? Town Called Malice.
Yeah, that's right.
That was in my bedroom listening to that. I'd never really heard stuff like that before. You know, I was only 10 years old when that sound effects came out.
Yeah, well, it was weird, that wasn't it? Sound effects was, as the name suggests, it was a move away from, you know, it was almost there was a lot of sort of studio experimentation, wasn't there? Or I mean, compared to what you listen to now, you know, bit of echo and a bit, you know, big reverbs and stuff like that, but, you know, messing around with a bit of a loop and stuff. But there was definitely a huge shift, wasn't there, in that sound, and Precious and those sort of, that sort of funk sort of stuff that's starting to suggest that period coming through, which was really, I mean, I'd go like before that, like the Modern World. Do you remember Light from a Window? Remember hearing that and just thinking, wow, you know, that's something in that song, and the record in a sleeve of Modern World with all the caricatures of like the modette. I used to think that's how I wanted my girlfriend to look. You know what I mean? That's a Mac and a Paisley haircut. That's what a girl should look like, you know. And there was one with a lad with the heavy set eyes, looked like Jimmy off Quadrophenia. But actually, in terms of my dad ended up marrying a Manchester girl, and I ended up with stepbrothers from Manchester, and our Paul, greatest man ever, and our Colin's gone now, he's passed away. Our Colin was an amazing musician. He was a session worker for Sony. Our Colin, he was really good back in the day. But our Paul, my stepbrother, massively into his soul and his funk, and so I was like punk and the Jam and that. And then when our Paul came along, I got where Weller was, you know, it sort of started to it didn't start to, it was totally marrying up in my head of like Marvin Gaye and Otis Redding and Curtis Mayfield and all this sort of stuff. And Al Green our Paul was massive on Al Green. He was never off the tin. And so that was huge influence for me. And then my sister, my dad, because my dad moved away up to Manchester, my eldest sister, she ended up bringing us up for a while. And she was with another bass player. She ended up marrying this guy called Alan, who was a phenomenal bass player. And he came into my life, and he had like these Rickenbacker 3001 basses that he couldn't go anywhere near. I've got his Fender Precision now. He's gone now. Alan. Everyone's dead on me. He's gone, but when I was 21, he gave me his Fender Precision. 1962 Fender Precision. It's worth a fortune. Never play it because I don't play bass anymore. It does come out now and again. Our old bass player used to use it, but beautiful thing. But yeah, and Alan was huge into like funk and people like Stanley Clarke, and he was like, if you're going to play, then this is what you should be listening to. And he was like sort of hardcore, musician, whereas. But that stuff our Paul brought into my life, that soul and funk as well, it all came at me in a weird way, really, because it's weird, our Alan meeting our Joan, my sister, and being a musician, and then my stepbrother coming in with that sort of, and his mate John Imo, remember him coming down with a huge big afro and bringing records down to our house, from Manchester, because he was coming up for the weekend, and that's what you did then, you bring records with them, great, like. Great.
Yeah, bring the old 7 inches. Yeah. Well, I mean, if you listen to Paul, he's got such soul in his voice. Later on, more so with like Style Council, but he did even with the Jam. There's just so much soul. You don't have to, be an Al Green to have soul in your voice. And the Jam were just something different. I mean, for me, the Specials as well. They just had a different sound that I'd never heard before, and especially my teenage years is kind of a bit rebellious, and it really taught me to listen to the lyrics. And I know with you being a songwriter, that's what you want, it's listen to the lyrics first. I would think the music is second. How for you as a songwriter, like when you sit down, do you start with your melody, your chorus first, or how is it?
Different ways. Sometimes I'll write like a poem or something, and that might just be stuck in the book, and then I'll come up with a melody, and I'll think, got some words there. I'll throw them, or I might even just pick 2 lines from that bit of writing and use that as a hook. But very, very often I will spend long periods of time just like changing lines, and I bug the band because I'm like, I want to re-record that and just change the line there. I just want to do that, because lyrics are, I think people aren't that bothered these days, are they? That, like, if you listen to music now, there's although with stuff like Coal Mine Records, there's this whole resurgence now of sort of soul vibes and funk vibes but in the main, I don't know whether people are that bothered by lyrics, but I certainly am. It's like, melody, lyrics, and a little bit old fashioned in, verse, chorus, middle eight, verse, chorus, and I've shifted away from that because and the funk thing doesn't sort of necessarily, it breaks those molds, but me sort of, me Beatles, Jam, all that sort of background takes you to verse, chorus, middle eight, verse, chorus. That's what you do, It's like, it's got to be like that. But lyrics, so important, aren't they? And if you, well, for I'm sure what you're saying there, a lot of people will. It's lyrics that you listen to, isn't it? The melody is great and all that, but then it's like it's got to be saying something. Music has to say something to me.
It does. One of my favorites from you is "It's Not Easy." I love the song because it does. It reminds me of being a teenager.
Oh, okay.
It just does, and I only started listening to you probably about a year and a half ago, and I didn't even know you're a Liverpool supporter, and I'd listened to your music before, and then then obviously I found out you're a Liverpool supporter. So I was like, I've got to get you on, you know. Because I mean, for you, like as again a songwriter, when you write something profound, you've got to hope it touches people, you know, or what's the point, right? I mean, I know there's some self-indulgence writing the song because it comes from your heart and your soul. But, you know, for me, modern music doesn't, especially what's played on the radio, that's just garbage to me. It's just, you know, paint by numbers songs. And, you know, it's, I keep going back to the old classics, the Jam, the specials, and I keep revisiting the albums, you know, and there are like somewhere, you know, there's a new artist that's probably waiting for me to find it. But for you, for you know, again, like for the lyrics, do you ever feel like you have to write something that's not part of you?
I don't really know. I wouldn't know how to do that. I mean, my hero is Gil Scott-Heron. I like have periods of just going into deep dives of Gil Scott-Heron. I read his books again. You know, and his last couple of albums where they were very much like, because a lot of it was just him talking in the studio, snippets of him and things. So it's great because you listen to them, and if you read one of his books now, you can read it and you've got his voice, you know exactly how he sounds. But like, you know, I'm not ever putting myself anywhere in that universe of Gil Scott, but you know, for me, that's the aspiration. Is I want people to go, he's a fucking good writer. Him. That's what I do it for. I do it. I want it to resonate with people. I want people to go, you know, well, it's not easy for me. It's fucking not easy, is it? It's just not easy to keep it together, no matter, you know, for anyone. And I want people to. You just want people to. You want it to mean something to someone. You know. I don't really know how you can do that by not by writing outside of yourself. I don't know how you can do that. You've got to, you know, and all my heroes, Weller, Gil Scott, you know, they write from within, and you know, even like Gil Scott's novels, they're almost, some of them are sort of, I wouldn't say they're autobiographical, but he uses, even in like The Vulture, he's using characters that he knows off the street. All right, he's putting them into fictional stories, but the people he knows, and that's what resonates with people when they read it. They're like, they get this, they know this character is, you know, from Baltimore or whatever, you know. So yeah, I very much want. I want to say something, and I want it to mean something to someone. I want it to mean something to people. I definitely don't do it for money, because if I was doing it for that, I'd have given up a long time ago, because I've never made a penny out of music. But I'm not asked about that, and I never will be, you know. I said, I'm getting on now, but I'll never stop, you know, because the joy for me keeps me sane. You know, keeps me sane, and that whole the writing process, and I can go deep into it. You know, I can lock away and do my thing for many hours. You know, and that's what I do. But it's nice when you come out, and I'm very lucky boy, because I've got some phenomenal musicians now, really good musicians that work with me, really talented lads. And lasses, but mainly lads now at the moment. We haven't got a female working with us at the moment. The idea of the original series was a bit like I thought of it like a bit of a jazz series. So, you know, like, because what happened with me was I got to an age where it's just so hard keeping bands together, because families, work, and all that sort of stuff. It's just so hard. So I ended up going, well, this band back in the day sort of fell apart again. So it's like, what do I do here? Do I go again? Do I build again? Do I actually stop playing music? That's just like, even just saying that's just wrong. You know, I'm never going to stop playing music, because it's kind of just what I do. I've been doing it since I was 12. fuck it, I'll go solo. I'll go out with my acoustic and I'll just do whatever. I can do little gigs and I haven't got to ask anyone on my phone, are you available there? I'll just go and do it. And that's what I did. And actually it done really well, just going out on my own. And it ended up building back up and I ended up building this band around us. But it's I'll come in and do that for you. I'll come in and do that for you for a while. Can't promise to stick with it. I'll come and play these gigs with you. And I was like, actually, this is all right. And so that's where the name came from, because I thought it was like a jazz series where, these like jazz, where different people would come and go. But what's happened now is I've got a solid band of people that are totally committed and don't want to go anywhere. Can't get rid of them, and so we're recording an album, Scalifornia Soul, we're calling it. That's its working title. It's even got a T-shirt that's out there. I'll send you one, Daz. I'll send you one. But I'm lucky because I've got some fabulous musicians around us. And back to writing, that's being honest. I write to impress them. I'm pretty prolific. I write all the time. So, prolific in that I write a lot. I don't mean like some brilliant writer, but I write an awful lot. I have this theory that you've got to get to the shit to get to the good stuff. So you just got to keep going. It's like anything, it's just drafting. But I do it, and I'll send a voicemail. I've got like millions of tracks, literally millions. I just do like look, it's like, I don't know how many's on there. It's like 1,000. They're all just recordings of me doing anything from whistling to what have you. But I'll write and send them over to the band, and I know when it's something good, because the band are like, I'll get like immediate replies back going, that's fucking boss. That is amazing, So yeah, and I'm really pushing that sort of funk stuff that I just love and was brought up with and adore, and that high energy. Because I am getting on, but I'm still fucking whacking it on the stage, and it's that old jam energy is in there, that needs to be in performance for me as well. It's all part of it, like.
Mm-hmm. It's so refreshing to see like the Liverpool music scene now. There's so many good bands coming out. I know Jamie Webster, and he stuck to his guns. 3 albums. He's just a lad, isn't he?
He's lovely. Lovely.
What he writes is how he lives, and I see the difference between Jamie. The new single Breadline is just absolutely amazing. Just the lyrics, it just resonates, because a lot of us have been on there. They have, my sister's been on there. Again, do I put the gas on or do I eat today? But then you've got like, singer-songwriters like Noel Gallagher, and, whether you like Oasis or not, they were part, like, British culture in the 90s, early 2000s. And
I don't like it at all. I never say it because people just go, it's Green Eye. I can't get with Oasis. I'm sorry. And Noel Gallagher is a fucking Tory, and so I'm sorry, but I just can't get with them at all. And like I say, I've never ever said that in any sort of public thing. Probably I don't want to get into any. Music's music, and if some people love it, great. It's just no, not for me. Not for me. That's all.
I'm saying though, like for now, I listened to an interview with him, and he basically said, like, look, how can I write about, working on on tarmac, doing drugs and cigarettes and alcohol when I'm in my 50s and I'm nowhere near that life. And I appreciate that, at least.
Yeah.
While Jamie, for me, still lives that life. He's still a lad, and I appreciate that. Like John Power to me is another one. Just absolutely amazing musician, and Liverpool just seems to be like spitting out these incredible bands again, because it kind of lost its way a little bit. I would say in the 2000s, and now it's starting to come back where you know a band is proper good when you actually go see them at a gig. Yeah. Because everyone's got this like producer or studio with who can manipulate your vocals and manipulate the sound to make it pristine. But when you actually go to a gig and you're in front of the band and they blow you away, that's when you know they're absolutely golden.
Yeah. That for me, that's another reason. That's another reason why I do it. For me, it's the live work. I want the live work to be absolutely spot on. It's really important that live you blow them away. That's otherwise there's no point in getting up.
Yeah.
For me, you know what I mean. I want it to be like what it was just amazing. Yeah. There's a danger you go up your own arse with it, like, you know what I mean. Do you know what I mean? There's that danger with musicianship that you become a little bit too self-indulgent, but it's keeping the energy and the power there, I think. But you're right though, there are some great bands, you know what I mean. There's some great stuff coming through, and Jamie's just great. Like, he's just a lovely boy. He's the real deal. I'm sure there's millions of but I've known him a while, and I've just seen a few. So I do a thing called the Right to Food guitar sessions. Have you seen that yet, Daz? So it's a little website, and I was going to match, and I always call by the food bank, the fan support and food bank thing. I was called by beginning of last season, I think, and a guy, a luthier, had made this handmade guitar. It's a beautiful thing, like, and donated it to the food banks. And I walked up and he went, "Oh, here's Mel. And he like, what would we do with this?" And Ian Byrne said to me, "We've had 2 of these. It's the second one he's done. We raffled the first one off and we got good money for it." But he went, I'm not sure we got as much as what it was worth. And he was like, "But, I don't just want to do a raffle. We could do, but got any ideas?" So I went in the match. By the time I'd come out, I'd literally come up with this idea. I said, so I said to him, "What about I've got a good few contacts. I'll just get people to play one song, got to be original, one song on it. I'll film them doing it, all on that one guitar, that we can't use any other guitar. You can have as many voices or other instruments, but you can only use that guitar. We'll call it the Right to Food guitar sessions. And we'll launch a website and we'll link it to the Right to Food campaign stuff, and we'll try." And he went, "That's brilliant. That's a brilliant." It's dead simple. Now, there are some artists who have, of course, but the one who straight away, Jamie Webster, "No problem, Mel, yeah, come down the studio." And when I was leaving, he was like, "Got to get your band in here," because he's got his own studio, Jamie. He's got like top drawer studio. And he's like, "You can have it for nothing. You can have it for nothing. He'll probably kill me for saying this." Or never offered me that, but he's just a lovely, genuine lad, and he's the real deal. Yeah, he really is. Yeah. And that's important, isn't it? That's important.
Of course it is. Yeah. He came and played South by Southwest here in Austin, which if you ever get the chance, Mel, you need to come over, because it's like a whole week of music events during the day, during all pubs, like big major events, like playing. But he came over, I picked him up from the airport, and it's the first time I met him. We talked, on the phone before and everything, but first time I met him was just mates.
Yeah,
it was grand. Yes. He stayed here for a week.
You can see what he's done, because he's just you can't not like him. He's just a nice kid, like, so. People just want to work with him, don't they? And and he's a grafter as well.
He is, but he did tell me something funny though. He goes, he doesn't drink that much anyway, but like, he's like, it's hard for me to go for a pint in town, because half the people want to buy me a pint and the other half want to kick my ass, and that's people just jealousy. It is it don't matter if you're from Liverpool or you're from Newcastle or London. People just get jealous of your success, and it's sad. It's like, it's a local lad who's making it on his terms, not anyone else's. His terms. Yeah. He's doing the job, and I'm so proud of him, and it's just hopefully a new generation will come up and write songs from here. You know, not to sell millions of records. I mean, yeah, that's always nice, but I think you kind of lose something there. So write from the heart and the soul, not from like, you know, somebody telling you what you need to write. Like, oh, you need to do better on your second album and you need a hit single. That's just bollocks. You know, so yeah, I mean, for me, you keep doing what you're doing. You know, I love it. And just quick, I mean, we've gone over an hour, which is all right. I want to ask you about, obviously, Size doing the official event in 2020 for, you know, the Adidas Liverpool. How did that come about for you?
So it was a mate of mine who put our name in the hat, and Paddy from Lost Art was one of the main organisers, and my mate got into Paddy and said, "Got to get Mel on this." So he went to sound, he's on. So yeah, moving on. It was a great night. It was a boss night, and like I said to you earlier, I got a couple of pairs of trainees out of it, which was nice.
Oh, you lucky bastard!
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it goes well. The original, you know, Mel and the original series with obviously Size and their series. But yeah, I mean, I would have loved to have been back home for that and scored a few pairs of those trainers, but I didn't, and I'm still looking. If anyone's listening to this and has a pair of Adidas Liverpools, size 9.5, I'm your man. As long as you don't charge me like God knows how much, I love them. But yeah, but my last question for you, what I usually ask musicians is, what would your ultimate festival lineup be? So a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday headliners, alive or dead.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'd have the Jam on Friday. I'd have Gil Scott on the Saturday, and I'd have Curtis Mayfield finishing on the Sunday.
Nice one.
Yeah.
Good lineup. Yeah. I mean, everyone's got, you know, different lineups, and I love that. But it's like, you know, Friday with the Jam to get the crowd going, and then you can mellow things out a bit more. I guess might as well ask one last question. Season ahead, you know, Klopp's gone, gave us 9 great years. Arne Slot, who's come in that nobody really knew who the hell he was. You know, he's some Dutch lad with a bald head. You know, don't know much about him, still don't really. But what I've seen of him, he sounds pretty sound to me. You know, he knows what he wants. He's got different tactics than Klopp, which I think, you know, maybe we needed. What's your thoughts on the upcoming season?
I'm always optimistic because it's Liverpool, isn't it? It's Liverpool Football Club. But this gonna, I don't know, people will be listening to this and go, he's round a bend, this fella. But I actually like the fact that he hasn't bought anyone, because I like the fact that he's looking at what he's got, because like we weren't that far off the mark last season. And I was listening to something where Trent was saying that he was talking about like he wants them to be a machine, you know, he wants them to like, and was saying that the problems that they had last season was they've given the ball away too easily. And actually, you know, yeah, we did. And which cost us in you know, and obviously you can't keep the ball forever, but I like that idea that he's working with what he's got at the moment, rather than coming in and throwing it all up and saying, because I think that can just be that destabilising. I think that was everyone's worry, is like, well, now what are we going to go into? And we don't know, we might still do, mightn't we? But you know, I just think I think we need, you know, need to try and keep it as stable as we can, and build, you know, from a steady foundation, a steady base. So I'm quite, for me, I don't want it to be, you know, obviously, you know, if decent players come through, then you want them to, you want them with a red shirt on, of course you do, but you don't just want to, I don't know, how many times have you seen new managers come into clubs and just go and try and buy everything that moves, and they just fail miserably. So I like that. It seems a bit steady, and as we go at the minute. But
I just think we live in a world, especially with social media, like with Twitter, where everybody wants to basically play FIFA with a football club, and buy £100 million players like every single season, which is just absolutely ridiculous. And unless you're, cooking the books, you can't do. We're not City, we're not Chelsea. They'll hopefully they'll get caught eventually. When the FA or UEFA throws some balls. But I just think we need to tinker. Maybe one or two players need to come in, and that's about it. But he has to assess the squad. What's he going to do? Like watch the squad on YouTube before he came. That's not reality. He's got to see them face to face. He's got to meet these players and go, do they have the right attitude? Because you can be the best footballer and be an absolute knobhead. Ronaldo comes to mind. Makes it all about him. But I like how he's doing it. He's going about, and then people are going, what are we paying Hughes for if he's not going to buy anyone? Well, what I like about Liverpool too is we do stuff behind the scenes.
Yeah.
All this like journos basically throw names at a dartboard. We all know they do, and hopefully one of them will stick. People just start believing too much. We're in for him. We're in for him. Why FSG? Why aren't we buying him? Why it's FSG's fault? Blah 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 blah. It gets boring after a while, and you see how last season, Bradley got his chance and he took it, with both hands, and he's done really well. So why not give Dan's a chance? Bobby Clark was O'Connor. So it's great. Kelleher, when Alisson was injured, came straight aside and brilliant. What's the point of having an academy if you're not going to help get these youngsters to the first team? What's the point? I know, football reality of being a professional footballer is, like probably 1% out of 100. And, but if you're in the academy, if I was, a 12-year-old kid and I saw Trent, who was in the academy, get into the first team, that would give me some, if young Scouse kid can do it, so can I. So I'm hoping Slot does the same thing, which I think he will. Maybe add one or two fresh faces just to freshen it. But we're only 9 points off last season. And it wasn't up until April where we collapsed.
Yeah.
And we were kind of
in the running for four medals, like.
And we got hate to keep kind of sounding the same, but we got done over by the Spurs game. There was the Arsenal game, the Odegaard basketball handball was a joke. And then the amount of like muscle injuries that we had, that's another thing I'm hoping Slots, the medical team are a lot better than Klopp's, because we always seem to be getting muscle injuries under Klopp. I just think it's the way we played, the Genga pressing. I think, we're doing two training sessions a day. So that's what I'm hoping for. You cut out the injuries, and I just think we'll be back up there again. Why not? Why would this squad fall off completely? I mean, people are saying we're going to be mid-table again, but they've got to stop comparing Klopp to Slot.
I don't know how anyone can say that. How can you say that? Because no one's got no idea where you can't say. You can hope we're going to finish up the top end or on the top. Of course you can hope for that. But you can't start speculating about finishing in the middle at this stage of the fucking hell, I haven't even kicked the ball yet, so that's just mad.
Yeah, that's the thing. I just think him coming from the Dutch league, people are just going, he's crap. He'll be sacked by Christmas. And I hope he proves everyone wrong.
hit that.
Because
I living in the dark, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, if I didn't have a podcast, I wouldn't be on Twitter. I just toxic.
I don't do Twitter. I hate it. I'm on it, but I was very active with it for my music. It was really useful for us, but I can't fucking stand Twitter now. It's just so toxic. And I've got to say, I'm going off footy, but that stuff in Southport, I just watched on social media, that stuff, the whole right wing thing getting pumped out from the minute it happened. And Twitter was the worst out of all of them. It was just like, you could see, I was thinking someone's going to get hurt here after the horrendous events that had taken place. Stuff. This is just mad because, the whole right wing agenda was just getting pushed. And it was like, but Twitter was the worst for it. I can't do Twitter. It's toxic. Like, I come off it. I'm on it, but I don't, very rarely engage with it.
Yeah, I mean, last year I used to be on there a lot more and kind of chat back and forth. I can chat shit as well, but then I'm just like, this isn't going anywhere. People think the way they think, they're behind a keyboard and they can say what they want, and it's just, that's not for me. But Mel, it's been an absolute pleasure. Again, anything coming up?
Yeah, we're playing Future Yard Festival, the Future Now Festival in Birkenhead on the 24th of August. We are playing Thornton Huff that's not till November. But we're just recording's the thing we're looking at the minute. That's just getting this album finished, this California Soul thing. I'm not sure what we call that when it comes out. That's its working title. So, but the next gig is August, mate. Yeah.
Well, I will put a link. Do you know when it's coming out?
The album? No. I don't. Soon. I just keep people saying, when's it coming? It's been a long time coming, this album, but soon. It's getting there. It's getting there. We're just grafting on it. But again, just wants to be right,
Well, I look forward to, listening to it when it finally comes out. Please, everyone, please like, subscribe, put your notifications on, and we'll see you next time.